And in 1995, I was in a psychiatric institution with major anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, and depression. So welcome to the conference. I'm so happy you're here.
And so I don't mean to be flip, I really don't, but it's my story and I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed. It's why I'm here with you today.
I am Tammy West, and that is my story. Welcome to Consider Yourself Hugged, a place to find comfort and support as you navigate your mental and emotional well-being. So sit back and relax, unless you're driving, and get ready for this week's hug. Are we good? What are you eating?
I'm eating chocolate that I got to put in people's stockings, but it's not very good, so I just decided to eat it myself. Yeah.
Because even bad chocolate is better than no chocolate.
Than no chocolate. Yes, that's what I decided.
So I don't think I told you I made this. Hello, everybody, by the way. And if you're watching on YouTube, set up just a little, Michelle, so everybody can see.
Oh,
we're kind of
not planned at all.
We didn't plan it, but we feel bad that we didn't do a podcast last week, which we'll talk about in a bit. It was really kind of a choice, you know. Sometimes you have to make choices, but anyway, what was that? Oh, I don't think I've told you that I made. Do you know what non-perils or perils? I don't know how you pronounce them. They're the little chocolate discs that typically have little white sprinkles on them, and they used to come in a box like at movie theaters, and you can't hardly find them anymore.
I do not know. I've never seen that.
Oh, I have to post a picture because probably no one knows what I'm talking about. But then when I show them a picture, they're like, oh, yeah. So Lindsay came over last week, my daughter, if y'all don't know, and we spread like Christmas sprinkles. I think I took a picture. I'm not sure. Christmas sprinkles on a tray and then melted like Ghirardelli dark chocolate and put it in a piping bag. And you just put a little plops and then they harden into these little discs. And then we covered pretzels and popcorn with chocolate and some sea salt. And I put M&Ms and tiny mini Reese's in there.
Oh, yum.
Well,
wonderful.
Needless to say, my pants are too tight. So...
I mean, it is the season. We're going to talk about that today.
We are going to talk about that today. I don't know if you saw some of the stuff I sent you, but yeah, y'all, I don't know. Michelle and I have had a lot of things going on, and we know that you do too. And I was traveling last week, and you were also traveling, like kind of with family things.
Yes, yeah, with my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. So he was in the hospital last weekend. So I was at Vanderbilt last weekend with him while my sister worked. So
you had all that going on, which I don't think we've even talked about at all. Like,
it's a busy time of year anyway. And then when you put other things, which everyone has, on top of that, yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today: navigating the holidays.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of interesting titles that I don't know, we won't create the title till we're finished, but we are sorry though that and I was traveling speaking last week and we were going to record with me in the hotel, but it was just, we were both like, just can't do it. And sometimes you have to just say, I just can't do it. And so that's what we did, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did.
And I don't even think, before we jump into just this, I don't think that I even talked about Lindsay at all over Thanksgiving.
No.
All right. I have two quick stories. Lindsay and the airplane. And then if you want to share anything, and then which all relates to really what prompted, you'll have to tell the story, that our conversation a little bit about what prompted the decision to what we're doing today. So, and I know all over the place, but I'm going to say this again. I say this every time I speak. If you don't have a Michelle in your life, you need to get a Michelle in your life. Not my Michelle, because she's mine. But you need someone that you can just text, which I texted her yesterday or the day before, and I was like, I hate everybody. And then she wrote me back. I was like, okay, tomorrow morning, 7:00. I'm like, yes, perfect. But short story of Lindsay, daughter Lindsay. We had our early Thanksgiving with her because her boyfriend's a pilot and he was leaving. And we're all eating, sitting around. We finish. She does Amazon reviews and a company had sent her a meat tenderizer, which I'll post a picture, not the gross picture, but it's just these two metal rollers that have teeth in them. And then you hook it up to your KitchenAid mixer. And when you turn it on, they roll and tenderize the meat. And she was just wanting to see how it worked. And it tenderized her finger. So it sucked her finger into it. And so we spent, what did I tell you, like 6 hours, 5 hours in the ER?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was actually still attached to her finger. We couldn't, her boyfriend got it pried open a little bit, so it crushed the bones in the tip of her finger, and she has multiple stitches and she's out of work. But there was that. So,
Which sounds like it would be a terrifying experience to go through. I know that, like, so I text you Thanksgiving. I don't even know if you remember this, but I text you that night. I don't know if it was like, I don't even remember like if it was a happy Thanksgiving. I'm not sure, but you said, we're in the ER with Lindsay.
I don't
So
remember.
yeah, yeah.
And it was terrifying for us, but I just kept thinking, we all know that feeling when maybe you're about to fall or something it's happening. And, all she could do was, she was actually pretty calm. And she goes, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. And actually, because of her, I've shared this before where I used to say, I'm not good in crisis. And she's the one who said, Mom, when I was yelling at the dogs once, she's like, you're making it worse. And then I realized that I needed to try to be better in crisis. And I was. I was very calm.
And you turned it off.
I did turn it off. Yes. And then, but anyway, it could have been far worse. And so, but that kind of took over Thanksgiving. Um, and then, yeah. So you talk about, I don't remember how this conversation started because we were just going to do mindfulness today, but we were talking on our walk yesterday, which, listen, y'all, I am not kidding. If you don't have a person in your life that you can text and say, I hate everybody, and then they say,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
here, it just, man, I know that I can complain or whatever, and you'll be there for me. But what prompted, do you remember the first thing we were talking about that prompted this?
I think I'm not going to say the specific thing, but it was actually me like sharing with you about something. And the conversation went from there. I can't say what it was that I was sharing, but it went from there to talking about alcohol. And neither you or I are, you know, we have never drank much.
Mm-mm.
Yes. And so, like, for me, that was more of like an intentional decision. I have shared on the podcast before about my brother, and alcoholism is just a pretty prevalent thing in my family.
Yeah, yeah.
And of the really close people in my family, it seemed like the people that there were only like two categories of people in my close family: people who chose to drink and had a struggle with it, and people who did not drink. And so I kind of just decided early on it would be a little foolish for me to think that I would be the one person that
Good.
would be different from that pattern. So very, very sparingly throughout my life. And I was telling a story about being at a restaurant
Oh, right. Yeah.
on a girls' trip with a couple of friends and getting a drink, one of like the real sugary drinks. I don't even remember what it was, but
Because when we
just
do drink, it has to be like a
it has
dessert
to taste like sugar. I
or
mean, that's
fruit
really the
juice,
whole, yes, or
right?
fruit juice. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my friend had got some, looked great. And she was like, oh, do you want one? And I'm like, yeah, it looks like it tastes really good. So um and this is like the really ridiculous part, but it is just the truth. I had no idea. She got a topper on her drink and they
People are
asked
out there
me,
going, oh, but
I had no idea. I thought it meant because it had like this little topping of like whipped cream at the top. And I thought that's what they meant. So they asked me if I wanted that. And I said, yes. Yeah, I
yes.
did. I said, yes. And like drinking half of it, our table was ready. And I literally had to hold on to the wall to get to the table. That's how, you know, little I drank and how, much it affected me. So we were talking about that to start with. So
we were, and I was telling you too after that because Michelle, if you all don't know this, which if you're with us all the time, you probably do, but um, I am much more like I'll just say anything, and Michelle's a little more private. Although, so I asked her, I was like, "Will you share that story?" And she was like, "Yeah, you know."
Yeah. If it's about me, I don't care to share, right? I mean, like if it's about something, yes. Yeah, like so I learned from that trip what a topper on a drink is. It is not a little bit of whipped
Oh,
cream.
you didn't clarify. Tell her in
Oh
case
yeah, so
I didn't
apparently
I didn't know.
it means like extra alcohol. Had no idea. The last thing in the world I should have asked for.
Is
That's what it
extra
means. Yeah.
is extra alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. My friends thought it was hilarious, but still.
Are there pictures?
Um, there are pictures from later on that night, but I don't think I look. I don't know. Oh, I can send you the
Yeah,
picture.
yeah, yeah.
You can be the judge of whether I look like
I'll,
you know.
I'll be the
And this
judge.
is yeah, this is from like half of that drink. So
Well, and
when
listen,
you
we want to say to y'all, and I want to just share too what I did the other day, but we aren't making light of alcohol or alcoholism or all that. And with in my family, we have mental health for sure, but there's only really one person that I know of in my family for sure that struggles with substance abuse and any sort of addiction. And I don't have an addictive personality, thank goodness. But I joke around all the time that because occasionally, like I'll have a glass of wine. I remember I told you my kids just make fun of me all the time because we went once, this has been a few years ago, and at the liquor store, and I was like, okay, I want the sweetest wine you have. And they sold me something called Sweet Walter. And so it is literally like grape juice. And so now they mock me all the time. And so then I joke because a little glass of wine or something can be very relaxing. And I joke, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to drink more. And then I just don't think about it. But so this past week, when I was out of town, I was in St. Augustine and for a speaking thing, and somebody I work with came and we met. We've only met before over Teams virtually. And we went to this little restaurant, and the server was so sweet. I feel like I'm at the age now where I call everybody like this sweet little girl, and she could have been 40. I don't know. But
yeah.
she told me, and I have a picture, I'll post it. She was like, well, and this was at noon. And she said, we have a drink called, it was something like Santa's sugar cookie martini. And I was like, what? Like sugar cookie? And I don't even know what a martini is. I know it has vodka in it, she told me, but is it because it's in the glass? I mean, what makes it a martini? Do you know?
I mean you know I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm asking you that. Okay. So anyway, she brought it to me. It had frosting and sprinkles all across the side, and it tasted like sugar cookie. It was absolutely delicious. And so we got to talking about this exact thing about, we both know that alcohol can be relaxing and the holidays are coming up and neither one of us are drinkers. And then we started thinking like all of the things like we talked about food and alcohol and family and expectations, and here we are. That kind of
Yes.
puts it in perspective, right?
Yes. Yeah. How to enjoy those things without um overdoing it due to stress. That was kind of what our conversation led to.
It did. It did. I'm thinking there were other things that will come out, but um, I'm gonna read some of these statistics. Is that all right?
Yes, of course.
We'll put all them in the show notes. But let's start with alcohol. Let's just talk about that first for a minute and anything that comes up about alcohol. But so alcohol statistics, and this is from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. 20 alcohol consumption increases by 27% during the holidays. I thought that, I mean, does that surprise you? It surprised me a little, maybe.
No, not really.
No.
I mean, on two folds, the stress of the holidays, plus also like the festive,
Mm-hmm.
like
There's
the
Santa
parties,
sugar
the
cookie.
get-togethers. Yes, all of those things. Yeah.
And then Same. I'm not sure. This is the NHTSA, so I think it's some sort of traffic association. Drunk driving incidents peak between Thanksgiving and New Year's, with alcohol related fatalities accounting for 40% of traffic deaths.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, like we talked about it, you're right. It makes sense because, well, first of all, so let's back up a minute. All of the pressures, like everybody loves their family. Well, that's not necessarily true, but I mean, most of us have some family that we love. But these are just like the last two statistics that I want to read. And these are both from the APA, the American Psychological Association. 62% of people report the holiday season as very or somewhat, forgive the air quotes, but you know me, stressful.
Hmm.
The second thing is women tend to feel more pressure than men to manage all that stuff. And then this was interesting. Have you read this yet?
Yes.
Oh, shoot. I was going to ask you to guess. Okay. About family. 45% of respondents identified family gatherings as a significant stressor during the holidays. That's almost half. I mean, that's a lot. What do you think? Like, what is it? Do you think that is just like, what are the things that are difficult for you? And it doesn't have anything to do with who our families are, or it's not that, but what do you think leads to so much pressure during the holidays with
So I would
family?
say, and I don't think that, like, for me, it's not a concern now. Like I've shared before, like primarily of my like family of origin growing up, it's me and my sister now and her.
Hmm.
And so, but I do remember, previously, like I think one of the difficult things is when people like it's expectations. That's a huge thing. I think that like with sometimes in families, there can be a certain expectation of how things are supposed to go, what's supposed to happen. And the reality is, when you're dealing with lots of people,
Yeah.
the expectation of something is never going to be exactly how you envision it.
You
You
want it
know,
to be perfect and you want to create,
Mhm.
yeah.
You want it to be a certain way, you want it to feel a certain way. And, sometimes you have individuals who really kind of express, sometimes loudly, if expectations are not going the way they think they should. That's one aspect. For us, there was never a huge battle over different things like political views, religious views. We never had any of that in my family,
Um,
but I know that is definitely a real thing
we've had it in our
within
family.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially here,
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's like um, these days. So, yeah.
Well, and especially during the pandemic, because it was the pandemic and the election, and it was rough. Yeah. We had a lot of differing viewpoints. So you're right.
I think too, like coming to a point where you just kind of love people as how they are, not feeling like you're a caretaker of their emotions, not feeling like you have to keep them happy. And if they're not happy, that's if they're an adult, that's their own job to keep themselves happy.
You've said that, and that's such a powerful thing. It really, really is. And we have some tips for it too. But, when you think about the expectations, and we did talk a little bit on our first holiday episode, I think, about like expectations and the perfect holiday. So this will be a little experiment to see if some of my other close friends even listen to our podcast. And I've mentioned a little bit about this before, but something happened last night. So we got together we have a small social group, friend group that we get together with. And we had our Christmas last night. And the house that we went to, I mean, she has at least five Christmas trees. Just the perfect. I mean, the little hot chocolate bar had lights all around it, and the table was set beautifully. and it was just beautiful. And the other two also very much beautiful, decorated. And so when we go to those places, including last night, there was a lot of praise, for how beautiful it was, and rightfully so. It should be. And I mentioned this before that for people who do that, make sure that you do it because it gives you joy. And she said that it did, that it really did give her joy. And so that's amazing. She loves doing all of that. But me, so when they come to my house, um, I decorate. You've been to my house. I have one tree. It's small. We have a small house, and I put a few other decorations, and I don't go over the top. But
It's really nice.
it's, it's comfortable, and I'm fine with that. But there's never like any like praise about that from that friend group. But I don't need it because one of them, um, texted me about a couple of things that were going on, and she said, "You're just so compassionate about that." And then there was another thing that we were talking about, and she said, "You and Tim treat each other with just such gentleness and kindness, and that's so inspiring." And I'm like, that's good. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't need the praise over, and it doesn't drive me to put up 5 Christmas trees. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just decide. Everything I talk about really is through the lens of identity. Like, who do I want to be? And all the things we did during the positive psychology series, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are my values and what's important to me?
Yeah. I mean, we talked before, it doesn't dim our light for somebody else's light to shine. And like they shine in different ways, different things. Everybody has different gifts. And so, but like it's so easy, I think, especially as women, to get caught up in that, like, oh, it's supposed to be like that. I'm supposed to be like that. And it's such a huge difference if you enjoy it versus if you don't enjoy it, if you have the time for it versus if you don't have the time for it. Like, what are you giving up
To
to
do
do
that.
those things? Yeah. Yeah.
Which is some of the, and we will have like a tip sheet, activity sheet, but that's some of the things that we've really talked about is, being able to set boundaries. And like I was telling Michelle, Tim and I both have colds. So as we're recording right now, just sore throat and just achy and all that stuff. And so our choice, we have another gathering tonight, but we decided to say no because it wasn't good for us and it also wasn't good for them. And
Mhm.
so setting those boundaries, being able to say no, you don't have to attend every single, I think too, the older you get, what is that? FOMO, the fear of missing out. When you're young, it's like, oh, you know, if I'm not there, what's going to happen? Hopefully we can encourage those of you who are younger, the world's not going to fall apart. But when you get older, you realize it's fine. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have to be everywhere.
You just care less.
Well, I guess, I don't know. It's okay. It's just really okay. And you get to get a little bit of rest when you need it. So please rest when you need it. Just take some time to rest. But that takes us
And
back. No, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say probably what you were going to say. It kind of takes this to like, are you enjoying the holidays without, having to use some negative coping skills to do so?
So that brings us back to the alcohol issue. And, Michelle and I, neither one are substance use experts or anything like that. But it is important to know about your family and your history. And are you drinking this drink because it's yummy and sweet, or if it's just a little bit of relaxation? And can you handle that? Will that lead to more and more and more and more? Just maybe some of the tips are just deciding ahead of time. Well, I have one glass of wine, will I have, if I have one glass of wine, I'm literally like, "Ugh," you know, both of us, because we're lightweights. And so just being careful about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's weighing out what are the negative ramifications of choosing versus not. Like if say like one drink is one issue or one not issue, but one thing, five drinks is another
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, but it's something to think about. And think about mocktails or and think about too if there are things that trigger you to want to do that, then that goes back to maybe there are boundaries that you need to set, conversations that you need to have, expectations that you need to let go of because sometimes it's all of that that causes us to want to do those negative coping strategies like drinking.
or if you have to drink to go, do you really have to go?
Mm, yeah, that's powerful. Well, what about food?
Yeah, way more guilty of that than
Yeah.
yeah, way more guilty.
Yeah. Okay, I have to tell you something. Let me pull it up. I meant to screenshot it. So we've talked about 23andMe several times. And if you don't know 23andMe, let me make a note. I've posted links for it before, and I bet that they're running specials. But both Michelle and I have talked about what we've learned about our families from 23andMe. But when you do, so it's a DNA analysis. You spit in the tube, and they tell you lots of different things. And so Michelle learned about depression being in her family genetically, and then anxiety for me. But guess what I learned today? Because
What?
it'll give you new reports over time. And I think they might do that just to keep you coming back to the app because they probably knew this when I did it 3 months ago. An estimated, it says, Tammy, your genetic result is associated with an increased likelihood of frequent emotional eating. An estimated 75 out of 100 people with genetics like yours report frequent emotional eating. There it
How do
is.
they know that? That's yeah. I
Well,
don't know.
there it is. There's the people. See, right there,
I
75
see
out of
the
100.
people. Yes, I see the people. Yeah.
And Tim, it's on self-report. It's so some of this is self-report, but it's like they
Mhm.
take the genetic profiles and then the questions, but it's true. It's absolutely true, you know.
My God.
So, okay, I said that that was all the statistics, but I didn't mean it. Okay, y'all. This. I mean, I'm a calorie counter. Oh, let's back up. If you struggle with like an eating disorder, if food is that type of struggle for you, please reach out for help and don't take anything that we say as being any sort of recommendation or anything
Or medical advice.
or medical advice. But here's what really surprised me. Um, this is I don't remember where this statistic come from. I'll find out. But the average person consumes 3,000 to 4,500 calories at a typical holiday meal. Now, to put that in perspective, the average, you know, recommendation, very much an average, but like 2,000 calories a day maybe is somewhat of an average. I have to eat less than that if I'm not exercising or I'll gain weight, but 33,000 to 4,500 calories. But
Wow.
here's the problem because I do a thing for the EAP company that I work with on it's called the Holiday Survival Guide. It wouldn't be, and I talked to them about this, but it wouldn't be a big deal if it were just one holiday. Like, so what? You're eating 3,500 or 4,000 or whatever calories at a meal. That's like, but there's like, we had 2 Thanksgivings. And then so far, I think I've had 4 holiday functions and I still have 3 left and maybe the new year. So, and then all the things in between. So then it becomes a big deal.
Yeah, and I think too, like thinking about it, like if the indulging comes from like celebrating the holidays versus like emotional eating is kind of what we're also talking about. Like, what's the reason? And it may be that you look at it and you're like, no, I'm just enjoying the holidays. This is absolutely not anything that is a negative for me. Or it could be that, instead of like alcohol, that in order to put up with some difficult situations, you eat cookies, which was probably more of my thing.
True, but even so, I mean, I agree with you, but even if it's not emotional eating, it still can be a really negative thing to be eating so poorly for like 2 months out of the year. So,
True.
you
Yeah.
know, for your body, for your health, for the way that you feel about yourself, and then you if you do gain a lot of weight, and again, this is not about weight per se, but we all have clothes that we wear, and then we all those clothes are tight, and then we feel bad, and then so even if it's not emotional eating, maybe we can make a plan. And I'm talking to myself. Yeah, I'm talking to myself here quite a bit. I'm
Tammy's gonna make a plan.
going to make a plan. Well, it's been a lot. And, just because like last night, and I do intermittent fasting a lot, and it works for me. So again, not recommending it, but it works for me. And when it works for me, when I eat, so I fast during the day and eat in the evenings, but I try to eat really healthy stuff like salmon and vegetables. And so it makes me happy and it works very well. But during the holidays, like yesterday I fasted, but it was fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, banana pudding, fudge pie, and I did not deny myself even an extra serving of a few of those things. And then you feel like full and yuck too. And sometimes we eat like that when it's getting close to the end of the night, and then, you know, then it affects.
Yeah, I think like the question is like, how does it affect your mental health when you do? Like if again, like the way we eat, we already know it affects our mental health. We know that, the other things we contribute, like, and I think as a whole, some of those other things get disrupted throughout the holidays. Like exercise gets disrupted. Um, the weather is usually a little more gloomy and
Yeah,
cloudy. So I think
yeah.
there's a lot of things that go into that. But yes, I mean, sugar content can really
Uh,
kind of be huge for people's mood sometimes. I mean, me included, that doesn't mean I don't eat sugar. But at the same time, like you gotta you have to pay attention to what is this going to look like? Just the same thing we mentioned with alcohol. What is it
mhm.
going to look like? What are going the repercussions of this going to be for me, mental health wise, physical health wise?
Well, and you're right, and it does affect the way that we feel, both from whether it's the sugar that's causing, the change in the mood, or just the way that you feel about yourself overall. Um, so yeah, so we wanted to talk about expectations and a little bit about food, a little bit about alcohol, and how about some tips? Just
So I think, yeah,
overall
like
strategies.
you already mentioned a great one, right? Like making a plan and trying to keep some of the things that you do throughout the rest of the year that are helpful. I go to the gym Tuesday, Thursday mornings and do strength and conditioning training. I don't really want to be there. I mean, I'm always glad I went after, but I don't really like I was thinking Thursday, 6:45 a.m., like I'm doing back squats. Not really what I want to be doing at 6:45 a.m., but it really impacts my mental health. It really improves
Yes.
it. And I know what it'll look like if I don't do those things. And so trying to keep the things going that you know for sure improves your mental health.
I remember when we were doing the positive psychology, and I think this is one I recorded by myself. Well, you tell me. There was one I think in the middle where we couldn't get together, and I was remembering three powerful questions that came to me during that relate here, and one is, do I? Let's see, what was the first question? Am I willing to engage? And that was, you talked about engagement. And the second one, I don't maybe not remember the third, but the second one was, am I willing to do it even when I don't want to? And
Yeah.
that's a huge thing because there's some days I don't go to the gym, but I mean I walk every morning and I have my bike in the garage, but it's like a couple weeks ago it was 19, 20 degrees. So I didn't want to, but I know, like you said, so I bundled up like two pairs of pants, socks, three shirts, coat, gloves, hat. And once I got back, it's just if we can remember, it's like 5 minutes of not wanting to versus the whole rest of the day feeling the
Yeah,
best.
it impacts my energy level if I don't like, and so it matters. And so I think just like you were saying, like whatever your plan is, whatever the plan is that works best for you, trying to stay within that plan.
Yeah, I think so. Even even if it feels kind of, I mean, we
Yeah,
know better.
I think that the second tip too is like managing, I'll use the air quotes, stress. You know, we don't have to overspend. I think we don't have to create, just like what you're saying, like we don't have to put up 5 Christmas trees for our family to come have fun and so
No,
forth. So yeah.
no, we do not. And and we talked about some of these things last time before too, but having other people chip in and help, having everybody, be a part of it instead of you feeling the need to do everything. I was having a conversation with someone a couple days ago telling me they have this huge Christmas meal and she does all of it, but she's very unhappy about it. So let's get other people on board and do some things together, you know?
Yes. Very
Yes.
much.
So I think just so you all know, we have some tip, like an activity sheet, like a mindful eating. Let's see, what are we doing? I have not sent this to you yet, but like setting boundaries, mindful eating, an alcohol planner, a mocktail recipe. Oh,
Hmm.
the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. Will you go ahead and talk about that for a minute though? Because that is such a powerful thing. It's in here, but and we've talked about it before, but we do you mind? Just
Yes, yeah, of course. So it's a grounding technique to kind of help bring us back to to the moment, whether we're kind of caught up in a stress spiral or anxiety. It just kind of grounds us to the moment, the present moment. And it's basically just using the five senses to bring you back to that moment. So generally, you just kind of stop and you identify 5 things that you can see. And, you can say them out loud, say them to yourself. And then it goes to 4 things you can usually hear. I
here, I
think
think. Mhm.
3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. So, like when I talk about this technique, I usually ask people just keep whether it's sugar-free candy or something in your pocket if you think you're going to need this technique, and it will take you back to that present moment because it's a different part of your brain that's working, that's activated when you're in fight or flight
Oh,
or
do the thing.
oh the brain thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Now, and if you're not watching on YouTube, Michelle will at least explain it. It's really powerful. It really is.
yeah, so like this is our calm brain, and then when we get really upset
Oh, it's like,
or
I'm sorry, but I'm just saying if she has a fist, but the thumb is on the inside of the
it
fingers.
comes on the inside, and when we get upset though, our fingers go and
And they
it
start wiggling.
and they start wiggling, and then so it's really about like it's from a technique that I believe a second grade teacher taught her class, and it's kind of just gone viral, but it's like we called it calm down unicorn.
Yes.
So when you realize that you're not in, you're not in your calm brain anymore, you're in your upset brain, then you tell yourself calm down unicorn, or you have a catchphrase to help yourself calm down. And then you go through, you use one of the other grounding techniques after that. So,
And Michelle and I were having a conversation the other day too, because, I was just feeling some more, another dip in my mental health. And I was kind of mad about it. And I was like, it's just not fair, that I've spent 30 years working on my mental health and yet I still sometimes have these dips. And she reminded me that, and we want to remind you that it is about like revisiting and reminding. Sometimes when it's busy, we ignore all of that stuff. And all of that stuff really helps. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the 3-minute mindfulness moment, the looking at what we're eating and what we're drinking and the boundaries, and it all makes a difference, but not in 1 minute. It's when we regularly engage in that. So I think for me, that's foundationally why the holidays can be so much harder, is that sometimes that stuff goes by the wayside. And then again, having a Michelle in my life is all about having someone who can remind me to do that, which is just super helpful. So just
Oh,
do.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. And I've said this before to everybody, but I have 4 Michelles in my life, but I have one at work, I have 2 at church, and then but I call her my Michelle, and then I feel bad, because of the other Michelles, you know. They're great Michelles, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong,
We've
but
just been friends for 20 years.
yep. Yep, yep. By the way, I saw a Facebook post this morning of our former um, department chairperson, and who I haven't seen in probably since I left teaching in 2006.
I think I saw that, and she looks the same, which
She
is
looks exactly
amazing.
the same.
Mhm.
Exactly the same. So,
Yeah.
and she was celebrating Christmas, so she's doing something right. I mean, she looked happy and
Yes.
all the
Yep.
things. Okay, let me see. Is there anything else? I love this little planner. Yeah, I was just mentioning a few things. The mocktail thing, a self-care sheet. Um, we'll finish putting it together. It's not totally finished because we never know where we're gonna go. But we will post it, and I don't know. I think that's all today. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, we have some resources for helping in stressful situations that we've talked about before that I think are still on there. We talked before about Bible verses. A friend
Mm.
many years ago, like what she would give to people for gifts is like just a little pocket holder full of note cards with Bible verses. And I can remember our group leader at that time, like encouraging people over the holidays that if they were with their family and it was stressful, to take a few minutes, go into the bathroom and just pull and read some of those cards.
I don't remember you ever telling me that.
Oh, I thought we had it on. Okay, well, maybe I need to send you a picture of those.
If you did, I don't remember, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm writing that down.
it's really helpful. It's a very good grounding technique as well.
I love that. Okay, we'll look over all the things. I'll send you some of the things I found, and then you can send me your things and we'll put them all together for everybody.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, so next Wednesday, so you'll be watching this. Well, this drops on Wednesday, the whatever it is, the week before Christmas, and then the following Wednesday, the next time we'll see you, will just be a very quick holiday message, right?
Yes, a Merry Christmas message.
I might even wear my Christmas PJs.
I can do that. I have Christmas PJs.
I have Christmas PJs too. You want a preview? Okay,
Yes.
everybody. I ordered them for all the family. That's all you can see. Anyway,
Those look really nice. Where
I
did you order them?
I ordered them from Amazon. Typically, Lindsay and I go shopping well, now that she's an adult, but we just with the whole finger, and then she went to New York with Reed, and so I just got them on Amazon. I was like, if we have time to shop, I'll send them back. But
I remember you saying you were supposed to go shopping the
oh
next
yes,
day.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yes, that's right. Which did not happen. So, but we are going to go shopping after Christmas, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Well, take care of yourselves. Don't let things pull you in that should not pull you in. Look at the activity sheet and then follow us, rate, comment, download, all the things. And until we see you next time, consider
yourself. Hugged.
Did I-
Bye.